morning. My theme song is usually "She's a Bad Mama Jamma," but I'll take that one. Good morning, everyone. It is so great to be in Pittsburgh. And, I woke up this morning and I really wished that Google Music just really understood my mood. It is 3 a.m. to me. You should just know, Google Play, what my mood is and react accordingly. Play something very depressing and moody because it's 3 a.m. to me. But for some reason, it doesn't really seem to understand my mood. Now, the very thing that I desire most out of technology, a lot of you fear. I want technology to read my mind and react. And I met this professor at Arizona State University, Bob Atkinson. He runs a lab called the Angle Lab. And he was telling this story about playing a video game with his daughter. And they got to a particular level, and they could not get past that level. They just kept trying, and they tried everything, and they couldn't get past it. And they finally just gave up, and they've never gone back. And his interpretation of that was to say, why couldn't the game understand that we were frustrated? Why couldn't it react to us and adjust accordingly? He then took that crazy idea and thought about applying that to education. How do we get computers effectively to perceive, to understand, and to react to us? Well, I love that he took that crazy example and applied it to education and thought about why do we need a computer to even care about our emotions? Well, in order to make learning meaningful, it has to be effective and it has to be permanent. Remember when we got super excited about learning styles? We were so cool. We know learning styles. I know you like auditory, you like visual, and yet it still didn't completely help students to be successful. Well, then we got really cute, because then we understood the world of gaming. Ha-ha! We know it's all about incentives. Well, that still didn't quite work. And then we realized, wait a second, cognitive tutors are the future. They can predict how I'm doing. They can see something and they can start to adjust. But still, magic hasn't happened. Why is that? It's because the best teachers, what they do is they're not only understanding something about cognitively how are you doing, they actually get the emotions. They're looking at you, they see the furrowed brow, they see the excitement. I know the answer. They're reacting both to, do I know the answer? And am I kind of with the person? Am I with my instructor? And that's really kind of what Bob was asking for. That's sort of what I'm asking for Google Play. Understand my emotional state and react accordingly. So the sweet spot between learning and gaming is this beautiful place. You know that book, Flow, by the dude whose name is super long and there's a lot of consonants? I know there's a Z and a C, and I have no idea how to pronounce his name, but I just like all those letters. Anyway, he's written about flow. And so it's basically like, how do I get so engaged? I am so into this thing right now that I am with you. We're always looking for that. Gaming has really figured that out, and some of the best faculty have figured that out. But you also want frustration. I'm not going to learn if it's too easy. I'm just going to skate through. I need a little bit of a challenge and finding those pieces together. But also understanding, when is a student happy, excited, delighted? When are they bored? When are they confused? Understanding all of those things, that is what an instructor is constantly doing. So the more that we go online with our learning, the more we have to be able to figure out, is this person agreeing with what's going on? Is this person disengaging? Because you don't want that frustration that Bob and his daughter experienced. And ultimately, really what teachers do is they figure out moment by moment how somebody's doing. Moment by moment, they adjust to the learning environment. What is making it feasible at that moment, and what's getting in the way? And that is what I want of technology. And it's really understanding a whole system. So I'm saying, how do we look at the facial expressions? How do we understand the emotions? How do we understand physiologically what's happening? How can we read the brain waves? I love this idea. I know there are people who think it's horrible and terrifying, but if we want students to be successful, it is what the best teachers are doing. How do we take that and apply it in a context of online learning or technology? So I don't even know who these children are, but they're just adorable. And this crazy thing, this emotive thing, comes out of the gaming industry. And it has about, I think, between 18 and 26 sensors. And you just put it on your head. It's super lightweight. And what does it do? Well, emotive may give you a hint. It's reading my emotions. Am I happy? Am I bored? Look at that poor little kid. I've never seen a bored baby before. I love that. I didn't know they could ever be bored. Am I bored? Am I excited? Am I surprised by something? It's reading all of those facial expressions. It's reading my emotions. And again, if you're in a classroom, you're able to do that. But if somebody's online, how do you understand that? Those of you who use, I'm an Android fan, and I think it's so interesting when my Android set basically is like, oh, she's not paying attention, right? And it says, we can't see your eyes. And it just shuts down the video if I look away. It reacts because it understands something about how I'm behaving, how I'm reacting. I really wish it would know when I'm surprised and delighted, because I don't know what it would do, but I would be excited and delighted to have it react. But I want my teacher to know that I've got my hand up, I'm excited, or I'm falling asleep, and react accordingly. And so this crazy thing, I guess if you guys see me around for the rest of the day, just do this. I'll know. It's like our gang symbol about emotions. And so this will tell us something about the emotions, which is really critical for learning. Well, the other thing is to understand where my gaze is, and that's what I was saying about my Android products, my Google products. It tells me something, where I'm looking, how long did I keep your gaze. So this comes out of the consumer phase, the consumer world. And so what they're looking for is focus, time, how long did I stare at you? How long am I looking at? That is a great outfit. And what's interesting about that? Did I look away? Why, how long can you hold my gaze? I have The Rock in there just because I like to look at him for a really long time. It's just an example. It wasn't really relevant, but it just sort of cheered me up. I don't know. When you're looking for images and you write in, like focus. And I was like, oh, I'm focused, all right. And so these Tobii glasses, what's so great is Bob at his lab said to me, what I really want is I want you to come for a visit to ASU, and I want you to wear a pair of those glasses for your whole visit during the day. And that way we will know what you really paid attention to all day. Ooh, that is a challenge. I kind of like this idea. But again, if you know that a student is really spending a lot of time staring at a particular part of a mathematics equation, that will tell you a lot. When did they look away? You start to know that you're starting to lose them. So what else can we understand? We do not want children or adults shooting their computers. We don't want people getting to that point that they are so frustrated that they cannot take the activity anymore. And so understanding not just how we read the emotions, not just how we understand people's gazes, but also understanding something about how your body temperature is changing, the physiology. And what's so great about this in particular is if you're dealing with students who have autism, oftentimes they are getting incredibly frustrated but don't have a vocabulary for explaining what's going on. But if you're sensing the physiology, you understand that something is happening. There's sort of moisture building up under the skin, often a hint that there is some sort of stress. It could be excitement. But we're starting to put these things together. So it's not just understanding the emotions. It's not just understanding where is my gaze, how am I concentrating, but it's also understanding something about the physiological response that I'm having. And if you're in a classroom, you can see when your students are getting red. You can see when they're starting to sort of sweat. But again, how does a computer start to read that? Adding these things up, that's what starts to tell us the story. That's the thing that starts to help a computer to look a bit more like those best faculty members. So ideally, it would be amazing to not just be able as a faculty member to say, okay, I know how this student did on this quiz, but to get a snapshot of their mind state. So this is a product called, it's a snapshot from a product called MindReader, good name, and from MIT. And the folks at that ASU lab, Angle Lab, use this to be able to plot those multiple things. It's not good enough to just know where somebody's gaze is. It's not good enough to just know my emotional state. It's not good enough to just understand the physiology. I have to understand all of it, that system. And so wouldn't it be great as a faculty member to understand moment by moment how a student is doing, to understand, ooh, there is a rise in uncertainty right now, and agreement and concentration are dropping. Okay, and they're really trying to think, what do we do with this? How do we adjust? Seeing that picture next to a grade, I think tells you so much more about a student than just knowing their grade. And so now we get to the super sexy part, the ROI. I don't know. I think of Pittsburgh as a very nerdy place, and I think you guys love ROIs. I don't know. I may have made that up. And so anyway, why should we care about putting all of these things together? Well, the great thing about it is that we could increase performance. That one you sort of kind of get. We can actually increase retention because we understand something specific about individual students. And it's about time on task, not more time on the same task. I was an incredibly horrible student. I'm a really good learner, but I'm an awful student. And the idea that people would just incentivize, people meaning my teachers, would incentivize me by just saying, just do more of exactly the same thing, and that somehow that was going to fix it, I was getting frustrated. I was really not enjoying that experience, and it actually didn't help. Giving me time on the right kinds of tasks, because the tasks that you give me because I'm frustrated are very different than the tasks you give me because I'm in that good frustration point. I'm in that good place of like, yeah, I want to be challenged. If I'm on the course of saying, oh, I want to give up, give me a very different set of tasks and maybe shorten the time or maybe lengthen it depending on the type of task. But the idea is that you can be more sophisticated. You can also react to people's attitudes towards learning. So again, I say, I'm a great learner. Well, if you met me in certain classes, you would say, she's a horrible learner. But if you can adjust the environment in which I'm learning, then I'm more likely to stay. I'm more likely to stick with the activity. I'm more likely to actually learn. So understanding, seeing that graph before and understanding, oh, she's losing concentration. How do we therefore give her something else so that she can change her attitude? If I'm expressing boredom, what can you do that changes my mind about that experience, gets me out of that boredom space? Here I am at the Angle Lab. I'm trying all that. I've got that thing on my head, the emotive. I've got on the Tobii glasses, actually Google glasses I tried on as well. And the thing that I think is so important about all of this is a couple of things. Number one, I love that the Angle Lab people, I love that Bob was doing something wholly unrelated to education. I love that he was playing a video game, got frustrated, gave up, and that's the thing that drove his research in education. The notion that you can get an idea from some crazy thing that is completely unrelated to the problem you're trying to solve, I think is really fun. I love the idea of taking things from disparate places, making sense of them, and putting them back together in a new way. And I think that's part of the purpose, I think, of the conference, but also that's one of the things that I've always admired about Pittsburgh. You guys are really great at repurposing, reusing, And how do you do that sort of in your daily lives as you're trying to reinvent education? And how are we doing that nationally? I also just wanted to share a quick story about a student that I met from Texas, and his name is Trinidad. And Trinidad did 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan, front lines because he didn't go to college, and so that's the job you get. He came back and had decided to enroll in college. He tested into remedial mathematics. Which was he more terrified of? 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan or remedial mathematics? Mathematics. What? And the only reason he made it through was because he had an amazing faculty member who knew he was terrified, who knew he had huge anxiety. She was able to constantly adjust and readjust in the moment to help him to be successful. And all that I'm really asking for and all that I really want, as I say that I want these computers to be able to read my mind, perceive what I'm doing, I'm just asking that everybody have that experience that Trinidad had, and that we use technology to enable that so that the time that we do spend face-to-face with students is much more precious, and that everybody deserves to have that moment-by-moment adjustment to their personal needs, to their learning goals. That's the thing that will ultimately make us all more successful. And if you want to join into such an adventure, I recommend that you reach out or look at the things that come out of the ASU Angle Lab. It is really phenomenal, and I do think it's absolutely the future. I hope to see something just as exciting coming out of this conference, because I think that Pittsburgh is the place that really will reinvent education, that you will take some sort of ideas like the kinds of things that I'm seeing at ASU, and that you will make a difference for your students in this community for that moment-by-moment learning. Thank you so much.